The question of happiness has been explored for many years. You can even trace it back to the ancient Greeks, when philosophers pondered the questions of what it means to live the good life. You can find discussions of happiness in old Buddhist texts as well. Fast forward to modern times, and we're still asking those questions. There's no question that we want to be happy. In fact, the U.S. Declaration of Independence points out that the universal right is the pursuit of happiness. But what is happiness really? No doubt you've talked and thought about the concept of happiness many times, but how would you define it? Well, it's clear that we're talking about an emotion, and a positive one, of course. Some sources define happiness as an emotional state of well-being, defined by positive or pleasant emotions ranging from contentment to intense joy. Psychologists have identified several important contributors to happiness. One of these inputs is something called the happiness set point. This is a person's general tendency to feel happiness, which is determined by things like genetics and birth variables. The second input is life circumstances. These include things like one's marital status and income, general variables that exist in one's life. And finally, there are intentional or voluntary activities, choices we make, and behaviors we can control. These are the things that we'll talk about in this course, things that we can do to directly influence our happiness. As a point of reference, in her book The How of Happiness, Sonia Lyubomirsky suggests that about 50% of our happiness is determined by our set point, and only about 10% is determined by life circumstances. But the remaining 40% comes down to the choices we make. This means that a substantial amount of our emotional well-being is under our control. And that's what you're going to learn in this course. Next up, let's take a look at some of the benefits of happiness to show that this controllable set of choices that we make every day not only makes us happier, but can make us more successful as well.